And it's interesting that we're all in person for this pod, considering the last time we were all in person was for Doctor Strange. It's weird.
That was strange.
It's almost like Marvel pumps out so much crap.
Ooh.
You just can't, not talk about Marvel content.
Yeah, they are. They're dominating the news cycle. The content cycle. How about that?
There are no breaks.
Pure domination.
But
Disney's got this thing on lock.
Well, we kind of have a break right now. Miss Marvel obviously ended. We're waiting for She-Hulk to start in a couple of weeks. But I guess, to be fair, yeah, there wasn't really a break because you had Comic-Con. You had the big Marvel panel where they dropped Phase 5. Oh, and by the way, Phase 6. And
by the way, Phase 4 ends in 4 months.
In 4 months. How would you... Let's start there. Let's start with Phase 4, right?
Sure.
How would you recap Phase 4 for you personally up until this point? Or here's actually, you know what?
Roller coaster. Are we doing one-word impressions?
Yeah. What was the point of Phase 4?
Well, I think it's a correction, right? Because if you think back to the first graphic, Marvel, these presentations are all about the graphics that they're showing. Phase 4 was a lot longer. Phase 4 had more on it, and it seems like it was a late change of kind of cutting it off now with Black Panther. So some people speculate that with some of the backlash they've had with the Marvel fatigue comments and all that type of stuff, it's just like we can cleanly kind of end here, and then Phase 4 is kind of like this is the catch up.
Yeah.
It's kind of like the catch up, and it's also the intro of a lot of new characters. You've had Yelena Belovovich in Black Widow. You've had Shang-Chi. You've had the Eternals. You've had the new Hawkeye. You've had Miss Marvel. You've had Moon Knight. You're going to have new character. You're going to have a new Black Panther that's coming up. You're going to have She-Hulk coming up. And so, like, that's the logical kind of quote-unquote end of this, like, who's the next batch of people? And then Phase 5 will go into something else, and Phase 6 will kind of culminate. I mean, they're now calling it the multiverse saga, right? That was the other big thing that kind of came out, that these 3 phases, for the first 3 phases were the Infinity Saga. This is the multiverse saga. And so this is kind of like the intro. If you mirror it to that one, Phase 1, here are all the Avengers, and it culminates with the Avengers movie. And, like, there's no Avengers movie, but it seems like Black Panther is the last one to introduce whoever the new Black Panther is,
right?
And also Ironheart, too.
Right.
Yeah, I was curious. You asked to sum up Phase 4.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I think it's a lot. It's all over the place. And, you mentioned, I think, last week how we've had, like 1 million different titles in such a short space of time. 55 hours of content in, just over a year or something? Year and a half,
yeah.
Which is, like, insane to think about. There was a lot of good stuff in there, but and we've already touched on this, because there was so much. There's also a lot of, like, mediocre to bad. And it's it feels real jumbled.
And there's no time in between, right?
Yeah,
like,
there's no rest.
Even think back to, like, the first few movies. You had Iron Man, and Hulk came out within a few months, and then your next Marvel movie wasn't until 2010, which was Iron Man 2.
Right.
So you had over almost 2 years to wait and kind of, like, digest and rewatch, and also, like, get on with your life.
and say what you will, the shows and the movies feel different from each other. They don't feel totally connected.
No, definitely not.
If the level of quality still feels different. I think I know personally a lot of people who they're gonna watch the movies, but they're skipping the Disney Plus shows. They're like, it's too much. I can't do it. The quality's not great. Most of it's bad. I'm not gonna waste my time. And I think in the long run that's gonna hurt, right? I think that's still Disney wants you to subscribe to Disney Plus. There's going to be important story stuff, right, in those shows that it's going to be hard to miss.
Sure, it's already happened, right? Loki season 1 introduced...
Might be setting up the whole thing.
Right.
Yeah.
Introduced, a character who will, an actor, Jonathan Majors, playing a variant of a character who is going to be
the big
bad. Who his name is in the title of Avengers.
Yeah.
Avengers Kang Dynasty.
So it's almost like I would look at Phase 4 as like their testing ground for Disney Plus. The movies are great. They're still what they are, right? The quality there it feels the same as the previous 3. the shows, it feels like it was the testing ground for the shows. The change in breaking up the phases probably came because of the shows. I think they're still tweaking that formula. Like where, how much storytelling, how long do these things need to be? And so I am curious to see what She-Hulk, what that looks like. If they start to do if there's going to be any significant changes from the formula.
There's a little bit. So the last few series, I think the last 3 or 4 have all been 6 episodes, somewhere between, 35, 55 minutes, right? She-Hulk is going to be 9 episodes, and they're going to be half hour. And the showrunner described it. This is the MCU's first half-hour sitcom.
Oh, okay. Well,
I mean, they kind of said that with WandaVision.
WandaVision.
Kind of, but they were like...
Well, they were leading into it, right?
Yeah.
Because it was...
Because of the TV show format.
Yeah, they were, talking about various periods of TV.
But this one, I think this one's a little bit more accurate. And there's already, you can see within the trailer that they released for Comic-Con, She-Hulk in the comics, breaks the fourth wall a lot. And they're going to add that, which is, a new element, obviously, to the MCU, to do something like that.
So, maybe you guys know. So, would I be correct in assuming then the only characters in the Marvel universe that break the fourth wall are She-Hulk and Deadpool? Are there any others?
Probably more.
Moon Knight's done it a couple of times.
Moon Knight does it a few times.
Yeah.
They didn't do it in the show, obviously.
I think not every single character, but I think a lot of various
those
arcs and
just
things.
fun.
I think there's
fun-
a whole thing where the
fun things.
X-Men at one point do it as well.
Pretty sure Spider-Man's done it before in comics.
Spider-Man's definitely done it as well.
Squirrel Girl.
What the fuck is Squirrel Girl?
Squirrel Girl. She can talk to squirrels.
And there's a whole comic around that?
Correct.
Yeah. It was almost a Hulu show.
Yeah.
That's too much. I retire. I resign.
That's Chris's breaking point.
Squirrel Girl is my breaking point.
So in the new She-Hulk trailer that dropped, there was also mention of mutants. Or there's
there were?
Well, there's
There's not necessarily
mention,
a mention,
right?
but part of the premise of the show is there are all of these new heroes showing up, and so people have made the connection with the mutant references recently, in some of the properties that are there going to be more mention of mutants, and some of the people the movie is setting up that she's going to be defending Abomination, but are there mutants essentially running around at this point? Especially because with the Miss Marvel connection, she is a mutant now. Who else is going to be revealed, quote unquote, as a mutant?
Is it,
well,
the mutant stuff
it's not quite defined though in the world, right?
No,
so
sure.
or in the
because in the comics it's the X gene, right? That's
Yeah.
the whole thing.
and so it almost feels like they're on the verge of discovering the X gene.
Right.
They found it in Miss Marvel, or what's his name? Billy? No. Brian?
Rondo.
Bruno.
Bruno. Thank you. I know it was a B.
That was fun.
I was forgetting. I want to say
Bryce?
Brian. I want to say Brian, but that was what.
Hey,
Brian.
But Kamran was calling him Brian accidentally.
Yes.
That's
that
right.
was
Yeah.
Bruno.
Oh,
Wow.
man, they threw me off.
Wow. Brown people
Um,
forgetting white people's names. Interesting.
Real quick, actually, real quick, is Bruno a significant character in Marvel?
Yeah, she actually.
Well, not for Miss Marvel. I mean, in Marvel. So
he's
the fact
pretty
that
minor.
fact that they gave him to be the one to discover seemingly the X gene, maybe that's a pretty significant moment. You would
Is
think,
he
right?
Professor X? Is that what you're thinking?
Could be. I do know the actor.
I don't know that.
I
but-
remember
What's
when I
Bruno's
first-
last name?
I wanna-
Xylophone.
X. It's Bruno X.
when I first saw the first episode of Miss Marvel, I'm like, that guy looks like discount Tom Holland. And then I found out that actor who plays Bruno was on the short list to play Spider-Man
Oh, wow.
for Homecoming. I was like,
Interesting. Well, there you go.
I'm sorry. I don't want to get too off the rails here, but you guys see? Speaking of Spider-Man,
Oh, the
Peter
Madam
Parker?
Web.
the Madam Web, and who might be playing an
Adam
older
Scott.
Adam Scott playing an older retired
Spider-Man.
Peter Parker.
Yep. That's
Do
the
you see that rumor? Yeah, I was like,
I don't pay attention to the Sonyverse.
Wow. Interesting.
that's weird.
Well, actually, speaking
Yes,
of
you do.
Speaking of the Sonyverse, I mean, actually, this goes
It's
back
in
to
your
the She-Hulk.
job title.
This goes back to the She-Hulk trailer.
Oh, yeah.
Some, crazy fans took a screenshot. There's a shot in the trailer where She-Hulk and the Hulk are at a tiki bar, and it looks like the same tiki bar that you see Venom at the end of No Way Home. So,
Okay.
and we know that there's a piece of the symbiote just sliming around. I don't know how or why you would introduce that into She-Hulk, but
Wait.
it could just be that they just reused the same
Well,
set. So.
Or all tiki bars look
I
alike.
might be getting my comic book arcs mixed up here, but rumor is that they're trying to do Planet Hulk and World War Hulk
Mm-hmm.
as like a movie or streaming service. Isn't a symbiote related to that in some way, shape, or
Yes.
Could be.
Yeah, I think it's like, isn't there like a war between the Hulks and the symbiotes,
I don't know if it's I don't know if that's what.
or
it is.
Carnage versus? Yeah, I think you're
So
right.
many
Vaguely,
comic
there's
arcs,
like there's a vague. That might be a thing. That'd be interesting.
So maybe that comes in.
Have you guys So we're speaking of like She-Hulk, right? Have you guys seen the criticisms of
The CGI.
that? Not the CGI. That Hulk now is like a loser. So they showed like they showed the Hulk when he first appears with Eric Banner, and now Hulk now where he has like dad bod. It's not really, but they're like compared to like what he used to look like, a voided out monster, obviously, and now he's like this dad bod.
I can't wait for those.
I'm like, it's so
YouTubers-
funny.
Those YouTubers to be like, and Disney has taken another beloved character and made them a weakling again.
Yeah.
Well, I'm
For the
curious.
Disney machine.
Yeah, this might just be me,
The
but I'm
message,
just curious
yeah.
to see like the explanation of the different Banner stuff.
What do you mean?
Well, because we had him like, at least my understanding at the end of Endgame was like he was always this like Hulk version, right?
Yeah, he's the Banner Hulk.
He's like he's Smart Hulk. He's
Right.
like this combination.
Hulk smart.
Smart
Professor
Hulk.
Hulk.
Right? Professor Hulk.
Right.
And then in the Shang-Chi after credit scene, we had him back as Bruce Banner
Oh right.
with like the arm
Arm in a sling.
thing.
Yep.
But then in this,
He's Hulk.
you have him as Hulk, but no arm to damage. So it's
Right.
like, is this show potentially before the snap? Is this in the 5 years in between? Or is this also after? Like, who knows?
When was the
Well,
I would
Shang-Chi
assume
thing?
I would
That's-
assume maybe it's after because Wong is in it.
Well,
Right.
also
But then we don't
maybe
know
it's a
because
different.
Wong wasn't flipped
Snapped.
away.
Right.
So
Maybe it's a different
this is
universe.
Maybe. Yeah,
We got multiverse now, so
it's true.
You know, I don't.
Fuck it.
I
Fuck
don't,
it.
I don't think that can be used anymore
of course it can.
until it happens. I do like the idea though that this might be a in between show, which would be a really nice surprise and change of pace. But now as I say that,
so you're
I,
saying
I don't
you're
think
saying
Disney
like
has the
in the
balls.
what, like in the 5-year gap, because we haven't
That's
seen
when
it.
the
We don't have any
exactly.
content from that
I mean,
period.
all the characters I think that they've shown would be around in the 5-year gap. The other thing, obviously, the other thing they show in the trailer is the Daredevil tease
yeah,
as well.
yeah,
in his
Yellow suit.
His yellow suit, yeah.
yeah.
I'm gonna now be hopeful because I'll be honest with you guys, like I was kind of meh with this show.
Yeah.
But now that
Same.
you've suggested that, I'm gonna get all my hopes and dreams up and hope that that's actually the case. And if it doesn't happen, then I'm gonna say the show is bad. That is my qualifier.
So that it's
There you go.
like a different time period than what you're expecting.
Yeah, I want it to be within that 5-year period.
Okay.
I don't want it to be
Interesting.
like the current timeline.
Well, a Secret Invasion, so Samuel L. Jackson was at an event and said that Secret Invasion is between that. Kevin Feige got nervous looking when he said that.
Oh my God, Samuel. You know what? He's old. You gotta
Kevin
give him. You
Feige
gotta
or
give him a
Samuel
pass.
Jackson.
Yeah.
Or
Samuel L.
both?
Jackson. Isn't he like 70?
He is in his 70s.
Yeah, it's crazy.
So that's, to kind of wrap up Phase 4 here, obviously it is ending with the Black Panther trailer, Wakanda Forever. An interesting 24 to 48 hour turn of events where it started with everyone being emotional about the trailer.
It's emotional.
Because it is confirmed that, unfortunately, in real life, Chadwick Boseman did pass away. In the Marvel Cinematic Universe, the character that plays Black Panther also, it's being shown that has passed away there as
T'Challa
well.
has passed
T'Challa's been
away.
passed away. So the kind of the reaction was the initial, I'm very emotional, and then it went to, we need to recast T'Challa.
Yeah.
You shouldn't let the character go because it's a negative thing in terms of representation in the superhero world, et cetera, et cetera. That is like one of the main arguing points
Sure.
right now, but it's been interesting to see a lot of different people's perspectives on it.
I also just find it funny people were sad and then were like, whose ass is in the Black Panther?
And then whose ass is in the
Whose
back?
ass
Whose
is that?
butt is that?
Yep.
Oh man.
What are the chances we get a digital T'Challa?
I hope not.
Yeah,
I wouldn't.
don't-
I think that
don't
would be
do it.
weird.
Yeah.
I would
that
be-
might be the
I-
worst thing you can
I would
do.
be more in the favor. I think what they will probably eventually end up doing is when Secret Wars happens, they'll have a different T'Challa at that point. Enough time would have passed where they feel like they maybe could recast.
Did they?
T'Challa
Did
So
Chadwick-
if he's dead though.
Well, he's in this universe, but in Secret Wars with multiverse and
Stuff.
everything, you could have a different version of a
Interesting,
T'Challa played
interesting.
by a new actor.
Yeah. Yeah.
So did Chadwick Boseman record enough alternative version, like Star-Lord version of T'Challa for What If? Do we know?
For what? Season 2?
Yeah,
I don't. I think they filmed the seasons back to back. So
that's what I heard.
potentially,
Yeah,
so
Damn.
potentially there was enough there for him to do that, to have recorded that. But I don't know how deep he was in recording that either.
interesting.
Yeah.
I mean, either way, I'm excited for Wakanda Forever. I think it'll be an interesting movie.
I think that's
It's
a
gonna be
movie that will
emotional.
bring people back, right? So like
Mhm.
we're in this phase where people are like a little fatigued by
Yeah, they're just
Marvel,
meh.
and like the movies have been like good
Some
and,
good.
and like solid,
Some
but
mediocre.
I think nothing's been like wow
I
recently.
mean, No Way Home would
No Way
be the
Home
last
was-
one, I think.
right?
Multiverse started out initially, and then when you think about it, you're like, whatever.
And then
Multiverse
Thor,
of Madness?
we all liked it. We all said it was good.
fun, but again, it's also one of those movies where it's like, I've already forgotten most of the movie, to be
Yeah,
honest.
for sure. I think Black Panther's going to be the one where people are like, oh, this is why I like Marvel.
Hopefully.
Well,
So that's Phase 4. So Phase 5 also, was the, people going into that panel and the news that was coming out, everyone thought Phase 5 was going to be the last piece of information, but Phase 5 was filled with a bunch of stuff. Ant-Man Secret
Filled to the
Invasion is kind of the starting point for Phase 5, and it's going to end with Thunderbolts, which I don't believe they just said Thunderbolts, right? There was no real mention of who's going to be in Thunderbolts or any kind of premise.
I listed some people in the outline that could potentially
Oh,
be in it.
potentials.
Yeah.
Mm.
These are-
John Walker, Yelena, Val, Zemo, Abomination, the Winter Soldier, Taskmaster, Ghost, the Punisher, Hawkeye.
Wait, who's Ghost?
Ghost is from Ant-Man and the Wasp, which was the
Oh, from the second one?
from the second.
Oh, she was cool.
Yeah, she had a cool.
Yeah, yeah.
interesting-
I was. Yeah,
potentially be in
she was actually like kind of compelling. I thought.
Did I put Taskmaster in there?
You did put Taskmaster in there as well. There's also
Oh yeah, Taskmaster.
some other like notable ones. There's the new Guardians or Guardians 3, which is supposed to be the last. It's going to be the last Guardians movie with this batch of characters.
Oh,
Doesn't mean
really?
that Guardians of the Galaxy is done. It's the last time we'll see this batch of characters, and I believe it's the last time James
together
Gunn.
in the Guardians.
Yep, and this is the last time James Gunn. Excuse me, Kat. This is the last time James Gunn is going to be part of it. I believe. as of
Wait,
right now.
so I mean, I know Guardians of the Galaxy are kind of like X-Men in space, just in terms of like big team, right?
Sure.
X-Men in
Um,
space.
How many iterations of the Guardian would you
bunch.
guys know?
There's
There's a lot.
Like Adam Warlock is like a big one. He's being
Oh, and he's the
introduced
new
into
one. He's going
this.
to be the new. Yeah. Adam
played
Poulter?
by
Adam Poulter.
Adam Poulter.
So Adam Poulter by
Poltergeist?
far, real quick. I don't know if you guys remember Bandersnatch.
Oh,
Yeah.
of course.
His character in Bandersnatch is still
Hilarious.
his greatest role ever, and
Yeah.
then his second greatest is that
Adam Warlock.
We're the Millers.
Yeah, We're the Mill. That's his second.
Oh,
greatest
yeah.
role
Oh,
ever.
man, that's
Yeah.
hilarious.
And then he was supposed to be the lead in Rings of Power.
Oh,
but
wow.
he dropped out, I think, because
Wait,
of the
Lord of the
schedule-
Rings, Rings of Power?
But he's dropped out because of the scheduling conflict with Guardians.
Wow.
And then he was also one of his first big movies was the Chronicles of Narnia movie, the Voyage of Dawn Treader. He was like
The younger brother.
He was the cousin of the
cousin.
main pensive children.
Oh.
Pensive children.
Yeah.
Huh.
Interesting.
Okay.
And he did get jacked for this. That was probably the biggest headline was, look how jacked he got. So,
Look how much muscle he is.
and again, real quick, actually, this is funny because I've been watching a lot of PewDiePie lately. Don't know why. But PewDiePie put out a video recently around like Marvel actors specifically.
Yep.
And getting kind of roid raged and
Sure.
jacked and everything. And his big kind of I think his big like talking point was like Chris Hemsworth, because Chris Hemsworth right now is really pushing his like diet and fitness program, and it's being
His
marketed
app?
is being marketed as like, oh, don't you want to look like Thor? But it's interesting because like a lot of this stuff never mentions like these actors they take steroids, they're taking like insane enhancements, and they're being given it in a way that you and I, average Joes, we're never gonna get that level of.
It's
like,
also their full-time job.
Yeah,
Like
exactly.
literally,
They're getting paid
they're
to
spending
look like that.
like 6 to 8 months just working out and eating
correctly,
and
yeah.
like that's their full day.
It's a full-time job.
Yeah.
It's insane.
For a while.
Anyway, so don't feel bad that they got jacked. If you really want to get healthy, go into acting, find an obscure character in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and
Get jacked.
and
For a living.
And
Disney will pay you.
Submit.
Yeah.
Based on all the Phase 5 movies, what are you guys most excited for?
Well, that's a great question.
So
Let me pull up the list.
Yeah, the movies
Yeah.
are Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania,
I'm actually very excited for that.
Guardians 3,
Yeah.
Guardians 3, I'm excited for.
the
Guardians-
Marvels.
I'm a little lower on
The Marvels, I'm
Guardians.
excited for that
And
for
Blade.
Miss Marvel.
and Blade.
Oh, Blade. Yes, Blade. Absolutely.
Well, did you hear the rumor?
Well,
Right
those
now?
are the ones this year, but there's 2 more 2024,
Agatha.
which would be Captain America, New World Order, and
Mm.
then
Thunderbolts. Yep.
Yeah, I'm gonna say. I think. I'm gonna say. Ant-Man and the Wasp, Quantumania, and Blade. Those are the
Blade?
2.
Blade.
Yeah. I don't know. I like the second Ant-Man a lot more than the first one, and Marvel actually does a really good job
With
in the third movies
yeah.
of their trilogies. They're actually almost all of them extremely good.
Iron Man 3 is trash.
You're right, but
It's great.
Captain America 3,
Ooh,
Thor
oh.
3,
Civil War's overrated.
Civil War. I think is people didn't like Civil War. I think it's underrated.
I think
People love Civil War.
No,
No.
Civil War. No,
Yes.
Civil
It got a
War-
lot of backlash.
Hold on.
It did.
Civil, no, Civil
it absolutely
War,
did.
Civil War
Yeah.
sucks because of the ending,
Yeah.
the stupid note, and the
The
phone.
letter.
Yeah,
Sure.
remove that scene, and I think it's a decent movie. That scene just kind of kills it.
Undoes the whole thing.
Yeah, it makes it. It was the first time where it's like I truly believe that Marvel could not handle like stakes. They could only do really well cooked, overdone steaks, and
They could
not
only handle
rare
chicken?
steaks. Yeah, they
decided to be chicken instead
decided
of
to be
steaks.
chickens instead of steak, taking the steaks.
That's fair. And it's true.
I think I'm most excited for Blade because I'm gonna start a campaign that says Wesley Snipes is my Blade
Oh.
and see what
Wow.
happens. Yeah.
Okay.
What the?
Interesting.
Those Blade movies, like Ryan Reynolds is in like one.
They slap.
Yeah, they're terribly funny.
They're
terribly funny.
I mean, yeah.
There's that. I mean,
Wesley Snipes did
yeah.
nail that character. That's for sure.
I mean, Wesley Snipes was an amazing Blade. I don't think you can beat that. So
yeah,
we'll
it's
see.
gonna be hard to top. Yeah, we'll see.
In terms of the shows that are coming out in 2023, Secret Invasion, Echo, Loki Season 2, Ironheart, Agatha, Coven of Chaos, and then the one show, Daredevil Born Again, in 2024. Out of all those shows, what are you most excited for, if any?
The Daredevil one's interesting because that's 18 episodes, and that is as far
Remember when we're talking about format changing for
Yeah.
Disney Plus? Like that to me screams.
desperation.
Well, I don't know. Correct me if I'm wrong, but sustaining that for 18 weeks on Disney Plus doesn't seem
Smart.
likely.
Mm.
So it feels like maybe they're going to try batch dropping some of these episodes. Maybe it's like a 666 or a 99 or a 333333. Did I say it 6 times?
Sure.
You know,
Close enough.
that's my feeling.
Yeah, I don't think it'll be. I think they have.
They should do 666 because it's the devil, actually.
I mean, that would be hilarious.
Mephisto.
Yeah. Mephisto, there you
Mephisto?
go. Boom. I think Daredevil will be interesting. I think I'm most excited for season 2 of Loki because I think that will be. I hate to say, it, but like I
Kang's
think
everything now.
Loki season 2 and Secret Invasion will be the 2 shows that connect to like the larger picture of what's happening. While everything else kind of feels like, hey, we're just introducing whatever.
I'm excited for the. I mean, to go back to the movies, I'm excited for the Thunderbolts movie. I think like it could be. It's going to be the first team up thing we've had since Avengers.
Mhm.
It's going to be a little different, and I think it could be fun.
Is Thunderbolts kind of like Marvel's Suicide Squad? Is that accurate?
Little
Kind of. I mean,
bit,
so
but
in
not
the
really.
comics, Zemo puts together this team in the absence of the Avengers, under the guise of like we're the new heroes, but they're just bad guys, you know. And then
Oh,
everyone
okay,
sees through it
interesting.
pretty quickly. But then the Thunderbolts come back together quite a few times, and are kind of anti-hero-ish,
Okay, interesting. Yeah, that could be fun.
which makes sense, right? In the state of the MCU as it is right now, there really is no quote unquote like Avengers team because Stark and Cap are both gone, or Cap 1 is gone. You have Bucky, who is like Cap number 2. But what's interesting, I think, about the placement of these movies is Captain America. New
Wait,
World.
Bucky's not Cap 2.
I'm sorry, Sam.
Sam, yeah.
Sam as
I was
Cap-
about to
as
like
Cap
get up there and
2.
slap you.
Yeah, I was like, oh, that's
what are you
interesting.
talking about?
That's
Is
interesting
Cap
that we
2.
promoted Bucky.
And but that move, so I feel like those movies will be related because Captain America comes out right before Thunderbolts,
Right.
right? And so I think it's almost going to be like almost going to feel like sequels. They're almost going to feel like a lot of the same characters are going to be in it. And who knows, maybe they, there's a lot of shared stuff there. Especially because like John Walker will probably be in Thunderbolts and he was like the government.
He's a fan favorite.
Crunchy face.
Yeah. Real quick, when this Phase 4 kind of started, we were like less interested in the Earth-wide stuff, right?
Sure.
So we were like, oh, the Captain America stuff, whatever. And we were like more into the Loki level stuff, right?
Right.
The
Galaxy
space
level,
and
space and
multiversal
time,
stuff. In the lineup that you've listed and that we see, do you see those two sort of things interweaving? Is there anything in there that you're like, this is where it'll happen?
I think they're going very similar to what they did for the first 3 phases. And think of like the Civil War to the Infinity War Endgame. The stuff on the ground will affect the stuff in space because that will change what's going on here, which will then necessitate, like, will change what the lineup is going against Kang and going into Secret Wars.
Oh, interesting.
In terms of like what's going on Earth. So like I think they're gonna do a lot of this like Thunderbolt stuff with the mutants. They're gonna do a lot of the mutant stuff with the. I bet the registration stuff is gonna come back from Phase 3, Phase 2 and 3.
Yeah.
With the Sokovia Accords, right?
So you're right. If we got this random,
and that's
X
going to
running around.
determine like who are the Avengers. What are the Avengers?
Well, it makes sense. It makes sense that like
and whatnot.
first one being the Infinity Wars, your heroes saved you and brought everyone back.
Yeah.
The second, this multiverse thing, I think people are going to look at it more as because of these freaks, these mutants, you're causing all this trouble for us.
Sure.
And this third like phases 7, 8, and 9, I think that arc is going to be really the mutants and people turning on people with powers. Because it's like
Maybe they're going to do Avengers versus X-Men.
Something like that. It's going to basically be like it's going to basically be like the human beings, quote unquote, are going to turn on people with powers because you've caused all of these problems.
Even think of the Avengers lineup, right? In the first Avengers lineup are almost all very, very Earth-based heroes besides Thor, right? Iron Man, Tony Stark, Captain America, the first, the war hero, even, Black
Hulk.
Widow and Hawkeye and Hulk, all very Earth-based versus like now. But now I think when you go into these later Avengers, like you got a lot of these cosmic people and like who is this? Who is this? Like who is this? Even with like. Even some of the Earth-based heroes are a little more controversial, right? And they've touched on that in Falcon and the Winter Soldier. Sam, like, being a black man and being Captain America, like, people aren't going to wholly accept him like they did Steve Rogers because he's not a white man,
right?
So I think they're really trying to sow that where it's like, what if the Avengers weren't beloved?
Yeah.
It's going to be an interesting. Phase 5 will definitely be interesting. It feels like the most flushed out thing right now. I mean, and we didn't even mention in 2023, there's also 3 anime shows dropping. What If Season 2, Xmen 97, which is going to continue where the original X-Men animated show back in the 90s ends. It's going to pick right up there.
Different universe than MCU?
Different universe.
I mean,
yeah.
I think the animated shows are not MCU canonical.
Yeah.
But they are a part of the multiverse.
Yes.
They are part of the multiverse.
Which means they could come into play.
Yeah.
Like down the road with Secret Wars.
But haven't they said Spider-Man? So the third one is Spider-Man freshman year. Haven't they said that show is MCU? And the problem though is like they've showed like when they showed the artwork and kind of like stills and previewed it, you see like Norman Osborn in there, which in the MCU Spider-Man we've not met a Norman Osborn yet.
Yeah, I don't think it is. Like I don't think it is canonical. Like I think it's pulling on some of the threads, but is kind of going off into its own direction.
I mean, personally, I think it's okay. Like, not everything has to be.
No. And it's better if it's not.
And I think it's smart of them to kind of have a delineation between the live action and the animated stuff because, look, as big of a fan as we are of the animated stuff, like, it's just does not get the eyeballs and the attention that the live action stuff will. And so, like, you're already asking a big task of, like, watch all these live-action shows. Yeah. Oh, now watch these animated shows that a lot of people, right or wrong, perceive as, like, children's shows, right? Yeah. Where it's like, why do I need to watch Spider-Man freshman year to understand,
I love how you immediately put on an old man accent. Why do I gotta watch this Spider-Man?
I mean, to confuse it even more, though, Charlie Cox is voicing Daredevil in Spider-Man freshman year.
Love it. But again, though, that's like the same thing with What If. If it's not canonical,
Sure.
but you still have like
A lot of the voice
Those
acting.
guys
Like,
under
yeah.
contract, so
Yeah.
why not, right?
and that's fine. Again, it doesn't have to all be connected.
I will say Charlie Cox must have signed a large deal with Disney because he's going to be in Spider-Man freshman year. We've seen him now appear in,
No Way Home.
cameo
She-Hulk.
potentially in She-Hulk.
he has a
he's-
series.
He's going to be in Echo. He's
Yeah.
going to be in the Echo show.
You're right.
And then he's also going to be in 18 episodes of Daredevil, all within the next 2 years.
There's no Kingpin show, right?
Nothing
No,
yet.
but Kingpin will also be in Echo, and
Yeah.
I would assume would also
in
be in
his
Daredevil.
Hawaiian shirt.
Yeah.
It's definitely a
Do we
scroll.
think we're getting a because Daredevil and Spider-Man are pretty interconnected,
Well, that's why he's
and
gonna
so
be
is
in
Punisher.
the
The
show.
three of them sort of
Yeah.
do battle all the time. Do we think we're gonna get some Spider-Man in the Daredevil show?
I think everyone's wondering if Tom Holland's coming back. That seems to be the big hang up of any Spider-Man.
Didn't he say he was gonna take a break?
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
that's the issue.
Mm.
I think
So
I think
yeah, it's Adam
everything-
Scott as an
I
older.
think
Peter Parker.
everything Spider-Man related is dependent on Tom Holland right now. If he actually is coming back or not.
It's a lot
Wow.
of power for one person.
Yeah, that's a lot. With great power comes
I think
great
it's just a money
responsibility.
thing. It's if you show him probably.
Wait, really?
enough
Yeah,
money.
if you show someone the right amount, they'll do whatever.
You can make him dance.
Humanity's been proven that we're materialistic, even if you think you're not.
Everybody has
Everyone
a
has-
price.
Everyone has a price.
Exactly.
That's a great
Everyone has
quote.
a price. If everyone's like, if they're like, here's the Robert Downey Jr. deal, like,
Ooh, are they gonna give?
he would take it.
Wow, that's a lot of money for someone so young. You should do it.
To wrap up the Marvel stuff, Phase 6 was kind of like the, and something else, or what's the Apple thing?
And one more thing.
And one more, yeah, the one more thing.
One more thing.
Um,
Jackie Chan Adventures. Anyone?
Yeah, Uncle.
Uncle. Yeah. One more thing.
So the big thing with the Phase 6 was we got, again, more Fantastic Four news, where November 6th, 2024 is going to be, that's going to be the start of Phase 6, I believe.
There's one thing on the calendar before.
Yeah, it's two things, fall 2024.
Yeah.
Yeah, so there are two things coming up but we are not aware of yet. And then the other things that were dropped, Avengers Kang Dynasties, May 2nd, 2025. And then it wraps up with Avengers Secret Wars, November 1st, 2025. But there's a shit ton of blank dates.
It is 8.
Two things in fall, one thing in winter 2024, one thing in winter 2025, two things in spring of 25, two things in summer of 25. And then in terms of projects that we're aware of that have no current dates, Armor Wars, which is a series, Shang-Chi 2, a movie, Mutants, movie, Wonder Man series, Young Avengers, maybe a movie or a series, Eternals 2, which would be a movie, Doctor Strange 3, which is a movie, World War Hulk, maybe a movie or a series, Scarlet Witch, movie, and then there could be anything else. The interesting
There's
thing...
a Scarlet Witch movie?
Potentially.
These are like so the last 4 or 5 things are rumored. The first 4 things are all confirmed.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Well, they were confirmed because there was a legal filing of trademark names.
No, they announced there's a Shang-Chi 2.
Say that 5 times fast, guys.
Shang-Chi 2,
2.
Shang-Chi 2, Shang-Chi 2, Shang-Chi 2, Shang-Chi 2.
At the end you said
You
chew.
screwed it up at
Two.
the end.
But
yeah, I mean,
that's been
yeah.
officially announced.
Yeah.
But
But what's interesting, I like the taping of this podcast, D23, Disney's big, hoo-la la of like, look at all of our crap convention. Hasn't happened. It's sometime September. There's also, I believe there's what they're calling like Investor Day. So if you're an investor of like the Walt Disney stock, they do like, private presentations for whatever. And I'm sure more information is going to be dropped there. So we may get all of this calendar filled out before the end of
I
September.
think so.
Which will be interesting because it's fun that you have like all of these dates and everything,
Sure.
but like they're always moving targets, right? Things are always
Nothing's
I mean,
set in
look,
stone.
look, literally 3 weeks ago, or 2 weeks ago, what was trending on social media? We are halfway through Phase 4. What's your favorite movie?
right,
Oh,
Everyone's
right.
understanding of Phase 4 was completely different because
right.
we thought that
We said
Fantastic Four and a lot of the things that are on Phase 5's timeline were on the Phase 4 timeline because that's what it was until all of a sudden it wasn't because they changed and they pivoted, right? And I think the thing that's always worked about Marvel and their cinematic universe is as much as it appears set, it is also fluid. And there are things that are constantly changing and consistently changing. When they made the first Iron Man movie, Avengers was not locked in.
right.
They were like, we want to build up to that, and we're going to try and make good movies that get there, but we're not there yet.
Remember
when
Josh Whedon directed that? That always blows my mind.
and
still.
then the
He did?
Thanos, even the Thanos tease at the end of Avengers, they didn't have the whole thing mapped out and set.
his color was also different.
His color was
His face was different.
Even when I watched Guardian, when I rewatched Guardians earlier this week,
He's blue.
he's slightly different, and his character is very different.
Yeah.
In fact, when you see him, he's sitting on a throne and
Yeah.
he's staring off into space. And they actually, in the space line, have like this glowing star. And a lot of people at the time speculated because in the comics, the original Infinity War comics, the reason he uses the gauntlet is to impress death.
Yep.
That
Lady
he's
Death.
looking out at death.
Right.
Right? They had that visual cue in there because if that's the way they wanted to go in 2014, that's
Right.
the way they wanted to go. But then 4 years later, it's completely
Nah.
different.
It
because
wasn't even Josh Brolin as that Thanos.
Josh
right?
Brolin was that Thanos.
He was.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
they had him cast then way back
That
then.
was when Josh Brolin was cast for
Gotcha.
that Guardians.
That's interesting.
Real
but
quick.
the performance is different. Like
Right.
he's
Yeah.
more regal. He is more of this mad king, and
Instead of
then
a country boy.
and then he's different. He's different in Infinity War because that's how the character evolved.
Well, it's
over
also it
many
goes through
years.
different directors as well.
For sure.
And that's
Yeah.
another big thing. Do you think, speaking of like Thanos and Josh Brolin, you know, you probably, I would assume, like when he was originally cast, I doubt they had everything laid out perfectly. But I'm sure there were things he knew that we all didn't know. Do you think Jonathan Majors has spoken to Josh Brolin to get some pointers in, like, how do you not accidentally fuck up in an interview? Because between now, Jonathan Majors was announced. Well, actually, that was a whole surprise during Loki.
It was only rumored.
It was rumored.
Yeah.
Now it's
Sorry, it wasn't rumored. We knew he was playing Kang
right.
in Ant-Man a
Right.
few months before.
Yeah.
People have been speculated through Loki that he was going to show up, and then he did.
So, but now it's official, and after like the Comic-Con panel, obviously he was on the press line.
Sure.
You know, and he's has other projects that are not Marvel related between now and whenever Kang Dynasty comes out. Do you think he's spoken to Josh Brolin and gotten some pointers in terms of like how do you not fuck up?
Spill the beans.
Well,
Absolutely.
Well, I also wonder if, and I think we talked about this for Loki season 1, if one of the enticing things for him as a performer is every version he's playing is a different character.
That's true.
And like in theory, all these projects he could potentially be playing a different version of Kang. Like it doesn't have to necessarily be the one Kang.
The Kang.
And then like
I hope they make Jonathan Major posters for every appearance. So it's like Kang the Thinker, Kang the Conqueror, Kang the Magician, or Kang the Architect.
Kang the Stoner.
well, you think about
Kang the Stoner, yeah.
Infinity War, right? And like Thanos is kind of the point of view character. Kang Dynasty, like I think it's good. Like I think it's Jonathan Majors is like 9 characters.
That would be
like,
amazing.
Will be like
13.
the main thing.
Yeah. Well, yeah, we'll see. I'm so curious to see how they do it and what direction they go. And as you said, there's moving targets. Things will change inevitably, right? One thing that changed everything, I'm sure, was COVID. So whatever the next big disaster is that throws things off the rails.
Wow, Christian, way to be
And look,
positive there.
And look, at the end of the day, these are businesses, right?
Yeah.
So it's like
Money.
like I listed Eternals 2 as a potential project. That's no guarantee because the movie like didn't do well in theaters.
Critically.
Try to kill you.
And tried to murder me specifically, and you know didn't respond well with audiences. So like if they had ideas for an Eternals 2,
It probably changed.
doesn't
at the
necessarily
very
mean it's
most,
going to
because-
happen anymore.
Right.
It might happen in a different way. They might shift it around a little bit, but that doesn't mean they're just going to do an Eternals 2 anymore. Much like some of these movies like don't turn out the way that they necessarily want them to, doesn't mean it's like we're going to do more of it. Like that's how they've been with all the Disney Plus shows. They're like, if it's good enough, we'll do a season 2. If it's not, like,
Bye.
it goes away.
But
So no more Hawkeye?
Well, that was never.
Hawkeye was popular.
But it was
Was?
also
Yeah.
listed as
It was
like
good.
a limited series too.
They all have been. Loki was listed as a limited series too, but then it got a season 2.
Yeah.
You know, Brandon Sanderson has no intention to watch The Eternals. Just FYI.
Interesting.
If you had to make your guess for what the Avengers lineup, because obviously Avengers Dynasty will be the first Avengers titled movie since Endgame, as of right now, unless that changes between now and then.
Which
Definitely
we
could happen.
should mention happened with Infinity War and Endgame. It was originally called like Infinity Gauntlet or something, Part 1 and Part 2.
Right.
Right.
So like those names are just placeholders in a
Yeah.
lot of ways, and could certainly change between now and
I
then.
But
think
let's pretend like
yeah.
it doesn't change, right?
Sure.
And based on all the information that we have right now, let's hear your wild guesses in terms of who you think will show up in the Avengers kind of like lineup. Who will show up and be like, I am an Avenger?
I hope it's just 13 different versions of Kang fighting a main Kang. And it was Kang all along.
Like it's the Iron Man. It's like the Iron Man Kang, the Scarlet Witch
yeah.
Kang.
I think I hope it's a bit at least. Like
Yeah.
maybe it could be a what if episode. It's just Kang decided he's going to be the Avengers. No, like Arjuna said, just to backtrack a little bit. The only reason they even mentioned those two projects, right, is to show everyone
the guiding
this is
light.
what we're
It's the
heading
guiding
toward.
light.
And I think, Arjuna, you said something earlier that I think you hit the nail on the head, and it's interesting, is that because now you have this guiding light, and we have so much uncertainty with the Earth-based stuff, now we get to spend the next 4 years predicting, or 3 years, 2 years. 3 years,
3 years,
predicting the Avengers lineup like we're doing now. And so now we get to play, we get to play with this roster and sub in and out,
at the end of
characters.
Avengers, we know like if this stuff continues, we're going to Thanos, right? Like that's what we knew at the time.
Yeah.
Like now we know as this stuff continues, we're going to Kang.
Apparently.
Definitively, right?
Right.
And so it's like everything you can kind of navigate through that lens. There's a guiding light, which was, and if you go back to our Thor pod, we talked about there is no guiding light. Everything is just kind of like happening, and we don't know
Why are we doing
what is
anything?
happening
Right.
necessarily. Now you have those titles and those announcements, and you're like,
Yeah.
Now it
what
makes
we're doing.
sense.
Yeah.
So your lineup is though
Yeah.
variations of Kang.
No, that's a joke, and I hope it's a bit, and I hope they do it in a what if episode. I think the lineup would probably be Doctor Strange, She-Hulk,
White Vision.
But I don't know. I'm gonna say no. I don't think White Vision would be in it.
No.
What's Thor's daughter's name? Love. Ant-Man, Wasp. I think those will probably be the main members. Some version of Black Panther.
I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but the rumor flying around right now is that Ant-Man will die in the movie.
They're gonna kill Paul Rudd.
That's like the
you can't
major
kill
like
Paul
rumor
Rudd.
because his daughter. I don't know if you've seen like the
Yeah.
concept art where his daughter gets a suit.
Well, every sequel you have to add another Ant-Man, right? There's only one Ant-Man,
Yeah,
and
you have
Ant-Man,
three.
Ant-Man and the Wasp. There's 2. Now there's 3 in the third.
Yep.
Oh, they're just multiplying. Yeah. Who's the queen bee?
Well, I saw something funny. Was like Phase 4's whole point was the babysitter phase. So all of these like character heroes
It
now
really
have
is.
like a sidekick or whatever. That's
Well,
gonna
Young
take the
Avengers.
mantle.
Right?
Yeah,
A
Young
lot of people
Avengers.
are like they're his kids.
I
Yeah.
think for my lineup, I think it's gonna end up.
Captain America.
Yeah, I think it's gonna be Captain America. Falcons, Captain America.
Yeah.
I think you're gonna have somebody from the Guardians. Maybe it's like an Adam Warlock or something. Not necessarily calling themselves, Guardians, but they're gonna be part of the Avengers. I think it's gonna be. I think it's gonna be Hulk. I don't know why, but I think Hulk is gonna stick around for a little bit. I think Thor will show up because Chris Hemsworth doesn't look like he wants to slow down with Thor.
He's just ramping up.
Yep. I think you're gonna have some variant of Spider-Man, whether that's like an animated Spider-Man. I don't know how, but
Animated Spider-Man.
sure, just fucking go crazy.
Miles Morales.
Miles
I
Morales.
hope it's like a
shows up.
Photoshop, like a paint job. Spider-Man.
I think you're gonna have characters like Daredevil, Moon Knight that are like on the outside of the Avengers, but they'll be there either for like comic relief or like to do like one small
Interesting.
thing. And then Agatha, I think, is just gonna jump in there.
So
for
no Doctor Strange in your lineup.
no Doctor
No
Strange.
Captain Marvel in either of your lineups.
Oh, I forgot about Captain Marvel.
I think it'll be.
I think it would be Miss
I think it's
Marvel.
gonna be Miss Marvel.
Yeah.
Interesting.
I think
Skip out on Captain Marvel.
I think
altogether.
Captain will be involved in Secret Wars. Maybe she's off planet getting ready for Secret Wars.
Oh, and Nick Fury in the Hulkbuster.
nice.
I'm gonna try and like.
And Ironheart.
I'm gonna try and create Photoshop.
I mean,
movie
Ironheart's
posters
a
for you
good one.
guys.
Ironheart. I forgot about Ironheart.
And then Ironheart.
Yeah. How about this?
No roadie, huh? No.
How about
no
this?
love for War Machine?
How about this?
Well,
How about
forget about
every
that.
single character who is alive right now
Yep.
will be in the Avengers.
You know that movie? Is it Spartacus? Where everyone's
Every
like, "I am
single one.
Spartacus."
Yeah.
Avengers is just gonna be like, "I am Avenger now."
I
am Avenger.
Anonymous. How many Avengers teams will there be?
It's too many.
In Secret Wars,
least three.
every single
At least three.
one.
Yeah.
You've got Avengers,
Possible.
Dark Avengers, Young Avengers,
Teen Avengers.
My
Pet
Avengers, Your Avengers,
Pet Avengers.
The
Who?
Pet Avengers.
Pet Avengers.
The Thunderbolts will call themselves Avengers.
Baby
The
Avengers?
We're the real Avengers.
Yeah.
So you guys have both admitted the
Admitted?
easiest one for me, and the reason I make this connection is the director, the rumored director of Kang Dynasty, is the director of Shang-Chi.
Oh yeah, Shang-Chi.
So I think Shang-Chi is going to be a big one. Also, Shang-Chi ends with Wong literally saying, "You're entering a big universe now."
Oh, Wong. Yeah, Wong's gonna be in there.
No,
Yeah,
no,
Wong
Wong.
is my Doctor Strange replacement.
Wong. No.
He's gonna die.
No offense to like
He's the
Benedict
Nick. He's the
Cumberbatch,
Nick Fury.
but
of
like
the-
Wong, to me, feels like a way more interesting character right now than Doctor Strange.
She-Hulk's
so
going to be his time to shine.
Yeah.
Maybe.
He shows up for that one scene. And
But
that's it.
I think,
the Book of Ashanti.
but I think Shang-Chi will be a big one, and I think it's going to be a lot of the like
and Aquafina.
secondary characters from like Infinity War and Endgame. So like Strange,
Yeah.
Captain Marvel, War Machine, Rhodey. You know, like people that were around but weren't like primary Avengers, right? Like
Yeah.
they weren't your core six. I think they're going to finally kind of be able to step into the forefront, at least in that first Avengers movie, and then they all die. Ant-Man. You know?
They die,
let's
and
be
then the
honest,
Young
like,
Avengers take over. For
Dynasty Warriors. Jesus.
Dynasty Warriors
Um,
13.
Kang Dynasty.
Kang Dynasty is most likely going to end a similar way that the
Infinity War ended.
Yeah, where either half the team is, snapped out of existence, whatever. I think it's going to be more of a this is the new timeline type
Right.
thing. And Secret Wars is going to be
Team
some
versus team.
variation of some universe where somebody has realized that this isn't correct or the Prime needs to be restored or something of that sense. And then
Right.
it's going to be a, we got to play a whodunit type thing to fix it or whatnot.
Right.
So it'll be like with Infinity War where the Kang Dynasty, everybody dies and it looks like terrible. And then we find out in Infinity or Secret Wars that these people might still be alive in other universes and we get them back that way.
Possibly.
Or the
Secret Wars
or have
is
to get them
when
together
Robert
to
Downey
fight.
Jr. makes his triumphant return to the MCU.
I wanted to ask the end
Wow.
of the last Avengers movie it was, right? We had that
Endgame?
whole new team that like showed up and you had like
Oh, Age
Vision.
of Ultron.
at Vision and
Yeah.
like are any of those in any form like Falcon was there, he's Captain America now. Vision was there, he's White Vision now. Who else was there?
Scarlet Witch.
Scarlet Witch, she's Scarlet Witch now.
Isn't she dead?
Honestly, couldn't tell you the
Supposedly.
rest.
Yeah, I don't remember either.
Oh, Cap was there because he's the leader of that group.
Well, wasn't Romanoff and Cap separate from that group? Like they were looking out over them.
No, they were They were all part
They
of the
were
same
there,
group.
I think.
Are we talking about Age of
Anyway.
Ultron?
Age of Ultron.
Yeah.
Yeah, they were
that
there.
last shot of Age of Ultron.
Yeah.
It's been a long time since I watched Age of Ultron.
It's only been like a year for us.
Yeah, we watched it like last
Good
year.
for you.
Yeah, we
I wasn't
marathoned.
invited, so.
Well, that's your fault.
You were too busy.
Anyway, that's gonna do it for us with all of the Marvel announcements at Comic-Con.
Only 50 minutes.